Welcome to class, students. Now, today's class, let us learn about describing events. We have studied how to describe an object. We have studied how to describe a place. And now we are going to study how to describe events. So, some events are so important, interesting, or inspiring that you may need to describe them to others. You may describe an event which is over, that is already past, finished event you want to describe because it may be a very important event, like your college fest of the previous year, or an event which happens regularly, that is example like Olympic Games. Here the aim may just be delineating what happened in a which what happened which happened in a chronological sequence. Chronological sequence means order wise, year wise, date wise. It may also communicate the narrative's moral, cultural, and political perspectives, or serve as a reflection on human nature. So the narrator may be a direct part of that experience and talk about it through the first person point of view, or he or she may only be an observer and use the third person point of view. In academic context, the task usually require you to describe an event of some significance from your personal life and reflect on it. So describing event is very, very important because sometimes you may be asked to speak about a very important event which you have witnessed. That time you need to be thorough how to describe an event. It may be a personal event or it may be an academic event. So you should know how to start a description. It should start from a chronological order, means year-wise, date-wise, time-wise. You should start what happened chronologically, you should present it. Now let us see one example paragraph. Soon after my dad finished school, he with a few of his classmates ran a soup kitchen in the how income section of our town. Soup kitchen in the low income section of our town. They ran this from the vacant family home of one of their classmates. The poor would just come, have a nice hot meal and leave. Soon it became popular and the crowd began to grow. It was, of course, a very satisfying feeling. One day, they realized a fallout of the generous work they were doing. Since the guests who came to the soup kitchen for a free meal, this led to several of the local restaurants running into losses as they were losing their customers. My dad and his classmates quickly changed their policy a bit. People who came to the soup kitchen would now be required to help clean up each day. Believe it, this helped us retain only the needy ones. This describes how an action can have unintended consequences. The narrator describes a soup kitchen started by his father and his schoolmates with good intentions, but which had some unexpected results. It made the schoolmates reflect on their philosophy and modify their perspectives on life. So when you are describing something, while describing an event, action plays a central role. If it is a mundane event, it may not interest your readers. So choose an event of some significance. For instance, the first time when you were called onto the stage for receiving an award, the first time you spoke in front of a huge audience, the day when your results were out, and how your parents responded to it, your first interview situation, etc. Identify key events and build your description around them. So describing an event is very, very important. You have to take good topics when you are describing an event. So make sure that you can do it in the first person or third person also in this describing events. An easy way to construct a good description of an event is to answer the 5 W's. So you can answer, if you know these 5 W's, you can describe any event very easily. What are those 5 W's means? What, who, where, when, and why. If you know these, what, who, where, when, and why, then you can easily do any description of event. Now let us start what. What clearly state which event you are talking about. What means what should you state? You should clearly state which event you are talking about. Who? Name main people or participants in the event and where. Describe the setting for the event. Now when. Give details of year, time of the event and why. Explain the significance of the event. So you should be very careful when you are doing this description of events. This what, who, where, when, why. You should keep all these things in your mind and describe an event. And here they have given few linkers when you are describing events chronologically. What are those linkers? Means words which can help you or support in a sentence. First one, when you are describing an event, you can say after, eventually, next, sooner, afterwards, first, now, then, before, in the meantime, once, today, during, later, second, until, earlier, meanwhile, soon, when. Like this, you can take help of these linker words and describe events. So describing object, describing place, describing events, you should be thorough. How to know? By taking help of these clues which we have discussed in the class. And you can expect a question from these. It can be from an object, it can be from a place, it can be from an event. Now, let us see classifying. What is this? In writing, the skill of classifying information is useful to deal with large, complex topics. Here, we break a topic into categories according to some specific principles. Present the distinctive features of each category and show how these categories vary from each other. A classification essay takes a group of things and breaks it down in one of the three ways. So why is classifying important? Classifying information is very useful because when you are asked to write an essay, you should make sure what you have to classify, what are the elements you should put in first, what are the elements you should put in next, and what comes last. So you should be very careful in learning the classifying things. A classification essay takes a group of things and breaks into three ways. So what are those three ways? Let us see. First one, parts. The topic is broken down into its component parts. Example, the three most important parts of a car are the engine, the clutch, transmission, and the safety systems. Like this, you need to talk about the parts classification. Next comes the types. The topic is broken down into its main kinds, like the three main types of cars on the road in India today are hatchbacks, SUVs, and sedan. The other one is characteristics. The essay describes significant features or characteristics of the subject, like the perception about beauty in an essay on fashion trends followed across the globe. So, classification is very, very important. You should make sure that you have to present these elements when you are classifying an essay. So, like this, you can before writing, it is necessary to decide on the classification criteria. The criteria must be discriminating and the emerging classes should be non-overlapping. A note of caution is what? Do not make categories on the basis of race, caste, and community. That might be offensive. So you should make sure that you should try to put your essay in these bases, and you should never touch, when you are writing an essay, you should not classify on the basis of race, caste, community. These are very, very important when you are making your classification, learning classification and writing essays.